The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL, but you're encouraged to like and share them on Facebook. Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie now presents the African American Scene. Here's your host, Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. Lordy, we have a lot of stuff going on right now. Ooh, goodness gracious. Well, we're going to have open mic night tonight. But first, let me talk about, I'm sitting at my desk the other day and Yahoo Live pops up on my page. And what do I see? Gloria Allred hosting a news conference that one of the ladies that Trump said was a liar about being sexually harassed is suing him. And in that press conference, she also said she had her take a lie detector test and she passed. Here's the interesting thing. For those that you think it's a financial motive, she said, I don't want any money. I just want him to clear my good name. And if he will admit that it happened, I will drop the suit. No chance that's going to happen. So she will be perceived as a money grubber. Although, if you didn't hear that, now I heard her say that out of her own mouth. She said, I am not looking for money. I want him to admit that he did it and that to take the taint off my character.
Isn't that the way to kind of get more money?
Could be.
It's really strange out there these days.
But I'll tell you, I think that's kind of interesting. So we got our president who is about to be sued for defamation, about to take office on Friday. And listen, I said it before, and I'll say it again, and you heard it from me. I do not anticipate he's going to make 4 years. I just don't see it. There will be something that will come undone before the 4 years is up. And for all you supporters out there, you only have yourself to blame. He is going to be inaugurated as the President of the United States on Friday, and we still haven't seen his taxes. That is absolutely unbelievable crazy. And you were out there pounding on the president to see his birth certificate, but you're not interested in seeing his taxes. And I suspect very strongly at some point it's going to be hard to keep the lid on that, and the lid's going to come off, and we're going to find out all kind of things that are untowards, I will say. And I think that as a businessman, he's used to just saying things and things happen, and that's the end of that. Well, boy, oh boy, is he in for a rude awakening. And, if you feel like calling up to fight with me, that number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590. And I think that he's in for a rude awakening because he can't just automatically say it and make it happen. Well, anyway, I have to tell you, I, on Monday, went to see this movie, Hidden Figures, okay? That movie absolutely blew my mind, and I want to get into talking about Hidden Figures, but that's one of my topics. The movie Hidden Figures.
Speaking of Hidden Figures,
the second issue is the president is possibly being denied membership to an exclusive golf club in Maryland. That's interesting. Third issue, will you watch the inauguration? Fourth issue, President Obama's ratings at an all-time high. Fifth issue, nationwide protest to protect the Affordable Care Act. Next issue, are Dems wrong for skipping the inauguration? And finally, are you still a Trump supporter? Are you still a Trump supporter? And we got a call, my first call on line 1, Steve.
Hey, Rudy.
How you doing?
Hey, man. If you keep pouring fuel on the fire and you keep doing this, I don't really know what to say, but I'm tired of you all Trump's, all Obama's election. You were saying that, hey, that the Democrats are out to get him, or the Republicans are out to get him, and the Democrats, or whatever. You're taking a point of view that is an imagination. You don't know what's going to happen. You haven't got a crystal ball, but you don't even know what he's going to do. Now, from the conservative point of view, yes, the conservatives always are not thinking about government and trusting government, because that's the point of view that they take. They take that, that the government's not always the answer. But the Democrats and the liberals and the progressives, they're taking a point of view, hey, the government's going to solve all the problems and so forth and so on. Now, I'm just appalled at a lot of the stuff that's going on.
Okay.
Lamont Hill, you know what he said last week, right? Or just, about mediocre Negroes.
Okay, so
you heard about that?
No, I did not.
Okay, Lamont Hill in an interview was talking about, Steve Harvey and some of the other black leaders or black people that were going to meet with Trump. He called them mediocre Negroes. Mediocre, right? I'm having a hard time because I'm pissed.
Okay.
I am mad at what your attitude and what the fuel you're firing.
Okay, what's wrong with my attitude?
One of your attitudes is you don't know what's going to happen, and you've already made predictions, made assumptions, and you know what happens when you make assumptions.
Yes, I'm well aware of that.
So therefore,
let me just say.
No, let me finish with my point.
Okay.
When you have a person like Lamont Hill classifying people as mediocre Negroes, okay, now we've got 3 classifications. We've got traitors to their race, we got mediocre Negroes, and we got stereotype Democrats, because they want to control and define what black people are. The Conservative Party does not do that. And Martin Luther King Day, talking about the character, not the color of your skin.
Well, let me just say this to you. You guys always like to run down that road.
Don't go, you guys.
Conservatives like to run down that road of trying to say that Democrats try to define us. I define me. Democrats don't define me. I define me. Now let me because when you wrote that letter to me about black people turning on other black people that have a different point of view, you could not be wronger.
Oh, I am.
No,
right.
You're wrong, and I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. Okay. There is nothing wrong with black conservatives. There needs to be blacks in the conservative movement. What I have a problem with, okay? Let me tell you why the problem I have. Don't tell me what I feel about it. I will tell you what I feel about it. Here's the problem that I have. When you're a black conservative and your message is to put down other black people, I have no use for you. I have absolutely no use for you all at all when that is your MO. If you are a black conservative and you have a conservative point of view, now I can think of some that I like. I like Tim Scott from South Carolina. I have no problem with him. I have respect for him. I have respect for Michael Steele. Michael Steele and I depart in many different ideologies when it comes to policy, but I have a great deal of respect for Michael Steele. So I don't down anybody that has a different idea. Now, here's what I do down. I have no use for Thomas Sowell or Clarence Thomas, who have made it their life's mission to bash other black people to gain favor with white folks.
And you call them Uncle Toms.
Well, you can call them whatever you want to call them.
No, not me. You classified them.
You've never heard me use that phrase.
Rudy, you did. And
You've never heard me use that phrase.
You said it to me, and you said it to me in a derogatory fashion. And I even said that's a racist statement, and you agreed with me on it. I had time to call.
Okay, I just explained to you what my position is. Okay. About black conservatives. I don't have a problem with black conservatives. I have a problem with black conservatives that find their conservatism requires them to bash other black people. That I got a problem with.
But it can be on political points of view, Rudy, and it's political points of view that I'm for people being people. That's it. I don't want black. I don't want white. I don't want that. Judge with the character of your character and not the color of your skin.
No, you know what? That's not that really is not. You say that. That's like the statement that, you get this you get this conservative speak. No, I did some research on it, and there's actually a web page out there where you can go and it will give you every talking point. And every Wednesday night, I hear those talking points regurgitated at me about I don't see color. Well, that is one of the stupidest, most ridiculous things anybody can say. Of course you see color. How the heck you going to meet me and not see that I'm a black man? There's nothing wrong with you seeing me and seeing that I'm a black man.
I just told you the character matters.
Well, okay, but I'm just
matters more. You're wrong.
Well, I didn't say that. What I said to you was when you say you don't see color, that is an ignorant statement.
No, it's not an ignorant statement.
It is an ignorant statement.
It by the character.
Well,
their
okay.
character.
Okay, well, all right. Let's.
And the point being is the character is what people that say things that black people don't agree with have been called all kinds of names just because of their political points of view. That is prejudice.
No, I'm telling you, I can't speak for all black people. What I'm telling you,
got a show that says Afro-American scene. You're seeing from an African point of view. You're stereotyping just as the Democrats do. You got to fit in this mold, or you're not part of my idea of what the Afro-American scene is.
Well, you know what? What I speak truth. And there is no radio station anywhere around here where you're going to get to hear what I have to say. And I'm blessed enough that the owners of this station have enough confidence in me to allow me to speak this point of view. And you know what? Maybe you don't like it, but I get plenty of people that tell me on a regular basis that say, I don't always agree with you, but you sure do make me think. And that's what I try to do. I try to give you another point of view that makes you think. That is my mission.
It's your thoughts.
Well,
your views are, Rudy, you can't say that all opinions are equal. Are they? They're not. And as I try to point out in my paper that I wrote to you, all facts don't have the same weight, too. You see certain facts, but you ignore other facts. Then you try to say that you're an expert in a field when you've ignored the facts on the other side of the issue in a lot of cases.
Well, that's your particular point of view. I'd like to
And
get
you're
to.
not going to accept it. I understand that, and that's why I'm calling you.
Well,
that's why I wrote the letters.
Well,
that's why. It's not because I'm not concerned about you, and I'm not going to get off the block that, hey, you know, I didn't get to hear when you were talking about my letter, so I don't know what you were talking about. But I got to go right now because I have other things to do.
Well, have a good evening.
My concern is, first of all, to
No, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. If you got to go, you got to go. You're not going to drop a bomb on me and then hang up. That you're not going to do. So either you got time to talk or you don't have time to talk, but you're not going to drop a bomb on me and then hang up the phone.
Hey, I'm not trying to drop a bomb.
Okay, well, I'm letting you know you're not going to do that.
Okay. My point of view is that and I expressed this precisely. Two opposing points of view that are diametrically opposed cannot be equal unless they are both wrong. Do you understand that point?
Sir, I am an educated man. So
I asked, do you understand it? I'm not.
No. I'm not answering that question because I'm an educated man. I think it's time for you to go. But thank you for calling. I always enjoy a little tate with you because it's very good. But Kurt, online too. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Howard.
Yes, sir.
I just started listening to the show not long ago, and you and I will probably politically never agree, but you certainly have a right to voice it. And if people don't like what you're saying on your show, other than this other gentleman, there's a switch on the show that's, as we used to say at ham radio, it's called Oscar Foxtrot. It's off. So,
hello, CQ. Hello, CQ. All right.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the phrase we used to use, But seriously, all I'm going to say is give the guy a chance. Obama's made some mistakes. He has made some mistakes that. Three of them that they can, that they know of. Constitutional lawyers will tell you that he made three impeachable moves. Let it slide. I let it slide. Trump is taking office on Friday. Let's give the guy a chance. If he's going to self-implode, which could happen, let him implode.
Okay.
But let's stand behind him. And Rudy, you are a businessman in the insurance business, and I would dare say that if our business, if our economy gets the shot that it seems to be getting already, you are going to be profitable, and your business is going to be profitable. Give the guy a chance. He is not legally required, and I'll finish with this. He is not legally required to show his income tax. Just like Obama was not legally required to show his birth certificate. So I think that's a moot point. If he wants to show him, he's going to show him. But, I say, what difference does it make? To quote Hillary Clinton, what difference does it make?
Well, for me, Kurt, I think with all of the questions about his business holdings, that I think it is more important for him than any other president that I can think about in my recent lifetime, that he provide us with some transparency about his taxes. I consider that to be very important. And I think it's relative, and I think it's relative to him taking office.
But you see, the reason he's been so heavily criticized is because he does not conform to Republican standards, and he does not conform to Democrat standards. And that has irritated, that has raised the hackles of a lot of people. Because he does not fit the mold. And he's got an attitude, screw you. I will show my taxes when I get good and ready to. And I really, in all honesty, hope that there's nothing that he has to hide or that he's done anything nefarious or illegal. I certainly hope he hasn't.
Think about that, Kurt. Think about that. He's getting ready to be inaugurated on Friday, and you're talking about you hope that he hasn't done anything nefarious or illegal. That shouldn't be, I hope. That should be, I know going in he's got a clean slate and he hasn't done anything nefarious or illegal. That's the point that I'm trying to make.
I agree with that, but we didn't know squat about Obama in 2008. Here's a guy nobody ever heard of from Chicago, had been a senator for 18 months. Nobody ever heard of this guy. In the press, nobody in the press did their job and tried to vet this guy and have a lot of this stuff come out until after the fact. So, it works both ways. And like I said, you and I will agree to disagree on this. But all I'm saying is give the guy a chance. We have a country that we live in where we can sit here on the phone and we can both disagree, and we can do it intelligently without name calling and everything else. And that's, I think that's what makes it so great.
Oh, that does.
There's no need.
That's what makes it. That is what makes our country great. Yes, sir. Well, thank you. I have another caller, but thank you, Kurt. Keep on listening.
I would, even though we disagree, Mr. Howard, I would shake your hand. Okay.
And I would shake yours too.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good call.
And we have Marie on line 3.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I would just like to make a comment, and everybody has their own view, their feelings, their opinion. But as far as these people not wanting to attend the inauguration, I don't know exactly all of them. I do know of, the one. But I compare that to an 8th grade tirade. We lost the football game or the baseball game. I'm not playing anymore. How is that bringing the country together? It is what it is. President-elect Trump he's going to be the president. So them doing that shows their true colors. Remember Cyndi Lauper? True colors? I mean, that's showing their true colors. You're not willing to bring this country together, you people, whoever you are. You're looking for more divisiveness and the 8th grade tirade. We lost the baseball game. Harumph, we're not playing anymore. That's so disrespectful. It is what it is. He's the president-elect. I mean, this is a shameful, true color situation where they're showing what they really are, because in spite of everything, he is elected President-elect Trump. Wish him well. Don't be a little fool and not attend like a little child the inauguration, because that's showing you don't want this country to come together. So we got the right man, brother.
Okay, well, we'll see. But let me just say this to you. Are you having amnesia? I think you might be having amnesia.
You say about what?
Because on the night, you're saying give him a try, give him a chance. And under normal circumstances, I normally would say that. But on the night of President Obama's inauguration, there was a meeting held by the Republican Party saying that they will not agree to anything that he proposes.
Well, yeah, the same for them.
Wait a minute, let me finish.
No, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. The same for them. I'm talking about present day. Whoever acts like that is an 8th grade tirade. Forget Obama, because I don't know anything about that. What that was, it was. What it is today, it is. It is what it is, and I don't care.
But wait, though. And then we had the minority leader of the Senate saying his number one priority. Now think about that. His number one priority was that he was going to make President Obama a one-term president. And we had Rush Limbaugh saying that he wanted him to fail. Now, okay, so now, all right, now let's fast forward to today. under normal circumstances, most of my life, I have been the peacemaker. I had a reputation for always being the guy to come in and try to make peace.
Amen.
Okay? I'm not there this time because I feel as though there has been enough dirt and stuff thrown that in order to get some respect, we have to get some dirt thrown back. Now, and let me just show you an example of what I'm saying. When Republicans made liberal a curse word, Democrats ran from liberal like little scared babies and decided that they wanted to be progressives.
Right.
So they got bullied out of, and I've never run from the word liberal, but they chased Democrats away from the word liberal. And so my point that I'm making tonight is, yes, in theory I agree with you, but there has been such a level of uncooperation and disrespect, they have to get some of that back. They have to. And I regret that I even have to say that, Marie. I really do.
Yes.
But they have to get some of that back.
If they want to behave like little 8th graders, harumph, so be it. But to be clear, I'm neither a Democrat or a Republican. I'm just looking at it as it is what it is. He is going to be our president come Friday, and wish him well, and bring the country together. Don't sit out an inauguration. That's a pretty big deal, sir.
Yes,
That's
is.
a big deal.
I agree.
And for you to sit out, and I'm going to say one more thing about Mr. Lewis, if I may.
Okay.
He started this. He's the one that came out and slashed on President-elect Trump, saying he is not a legitimate president. Shame on him. And then when Trump tweets back something I heard about talk, he's crucified. Who started that? I mean, these are like 8th grade children. Thank you for your time, and I hope they grow up, and I hope Mr. President-elect Trump drains that swamp. God bless you. Bye-bye.
God bless you, too. Well. I've had a couple interesting calls here.
I hear the pumps in Washington running in that swamp right now on this show. Wow.
Well, folks, we're going to take a break, and we're off to a rocket start. And if you want to call in, that phone number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590 for the African American scene. Don't touch that dial.
Like to say hello to the folks that are watching on our Ustream feed. To get there, just go to WPSL.com and click on where it says live webcam, and you can see us in the studio here right now during the African American scene every Wednesday night in the 6 o'clock hour. Now back to your host, Rudy Howard.
I'm gonna drop this on you, and then I'm gonna take this phone call. I saw Hidden Figures Monday, and my goodness gracious, what a movie! But we're gonna take Winnie on line 1. Yes, Winnie, how are you?
All right, how you doing?
Okay.
I am gonna look at the inauguration on TV Friday. Out of Trump, and I wish him well, and I wish him well. Yeah, I would give him a chance. I have voted.
Well, you supported him. You were supportive. You were supportive of him.
Right, I am.
I know. That's okay.
Yeah, and anyway, that you never know. It might make them, might make a difference. In our lives and stuff like this here. But I want his supporters and everything. I went to Rocky store. I put some free information in the envelope. I tell them to give it to you when you go there.
Okay, all righty.
All right, Hidden Figures.
Yeah.
Man, that's a good one. Okay, then, God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Winnie. Thank you for being a faithful listener. Yeah,
Rudy.
Yeah, she was a Trump supporter all along.
I remember Obama's inauguration.
Yeah,
and there were the naysayers and the whiners and the crybabies and all that.
Listen.
But I watched that inauguration, and I never saw a man with his head lifted as high as Obama's head was lifted that day during that inauguration. And I looked at it and I saw this is something that the world has waited for a very long time, and he is taking it well. He is.
I saw Brian Williams did a show called The Obama Years, and he interviewed several people throughout the show. And one of the people that he interviewed was Nicole Wallace. And Nicole Wallace said in the interview, I didn't vote for him either time, but she said, looking back, I can say that I'm proud that he was my president. And I thought that was something very special from her. Mm-hmm. Now, Hidden Figures. Let me tell you something about that. I was absolutely blown away by that movie. Now, over the past couple years, every year I do a thing. I do a trivia contest in February in celebration of Black History Month. And for the last couple years, I've had people say to me, why do we really need a Black History Month? Well, boy, let me tell you something. You go see Hidden Figures, and you're going to find out why we need a Black History Month. And I have Facebook, some of my friends from college, people that I know are avid readers, and they all had the same impression that I had. They had never heard of this story. And let me tell you what the story is about. There in Langley, Virginia, where they were trying to put a man in space and a man in the moon, they had what was called colored computers. Not like a machine computer, but colored people that were computers. And they did statistical analysis and data manipulation in order to make sure that the trajectories that the athletes would leave the earth on and come back on would bring them back safe. Knew nothing about that. The young lady who is the lead character, these are all real people. Katherine Johnson was a genius. She graduated high school at 10 years old and graduated from what is now West Virginia University at 14. She was a mathematical genius. Now, let me tell you why that infuriates me. Part of how we build our self-esteem is through self-confidence and by identifying and modeling after people who we can identify with. That role model was stolen from us. Those ladies were an integral part of a man walking on the moon, and nobody knows it. Now, one of my good white friends, she wrote me back and said, I am angry that I didn't know anything about it and that my kids never learned about that in high school. And you know why that's important? When you know that your fellow American has made a significant contribution to where we are today, that's powerful. That changes the person in your eyes. Your eyes, the lens of your eyes sees a different person because you look at them from a different way because of the contribution that you can identify with that person. So we all lose. My white brothers and sisters lose, and my black brothers and sisters lose because we don't have this information. But I want to say this speaks to a larger problem. One of the things that conservatives like to say about black people is they don't want to work, they want handouts, and that is unfortunately the identification, and even some black conservatives say that. But I'm going to tell you, this Hidden Figures speaks to a larger pattern. And I've talked about this on my show before, but I want you to really, truthfully get this. Now, some of my listeners who are thoughtful are going to listen to what I have to say, and you're going to get it. Some of you are going to say, I'm full of baloney, and I expect that. This speaks to a larger pattern, and I'm going to start with Reconstruction. In Reconstruction, there were black senators, there was black congressmen, there was multiple black officials in the government until Reconstruction ended. Now, what happened? There was no interest in the government in Reconstruction, and once Lincoln was gone and Reconstruction ended, and they began to see that there was some power in being a government official, guess what happened to us? We got pushed out. When I was a kid, all right, and there's some of you that are my age and you'll remember this, if you went into any fancy restaurant, all the waiters and waitresses in the restaurant were black. Okay? That's a fact. I'm not telling you you can't call up and argue with me about that because that happens to be the truth. So what happens? People start to make big money in tips being waiters and waitresses. So what happens? The black people are gone. They're no longer waiters and waitresses. Some today, but those jobs that they had exclusively held for many, many years, they were pushed out. On the PGA Tour, okay, if you remember growing up, every caddy on the PGA Tour was black. There was no white caddies on the PGA Tour. That was considered a purview of black folks to caddy bags. Now, once the money began to be very good at being a caddy, guess what happened? Again, no more black people are caddies. Now caddies earn $1 million. No more black caddies on the PGA Tour. Are you following the pattern? Now, I just wonder, and you begin to wonder now, I wonder what would have happened if we were allowed to continue to prosper in those professions. So we had these ladies who helped do the computations that put a man in space and a man on the moon. And what happened? Gone. Not there anymore. They found a niche, and that niche they got pushed out of. So that pattern repeats itself over and over again. I could tell you about jockeys, and a lot of you don't know that some of the first jockeys that of notoriety were black guys. They're not in that anymore either. They got pushed out. So, you're always asking, how come you don't do this and how come you don't do that? And when we've had some success, it gets pushed out or burned down. When there was Tulsa, Oklahoma, I know if you haven't heard the story, I covered that one night on the show here. Tulsa, Oklahoma, and there's a book about it called The Black Wall Street, was a very prosperous community. And what happened? They burned it to the ground because they didn't like black folks being that prosperous. It got burnt to the ground, as did our community here in Florida got burnt to the ground. So you keep asking us to do stuff. We do stuff, and then you either push us to the side or you burn it to the ground. So, the pattern is very consistent. But I just want you to consider that. And you know what? And you know why that's important for you to understand? to show you the toughness and the resilience of people of color, because we have to deal with that, put it aside, and keep on going. Just like with our president. President had to endure insults, disrespect, lack of phone calls being returned. He kept his head up high, and he kept going forward. And you know, you have to learn how to do that when you look like me. That's part of the equation. You better learn how to do it, because if you hate, that'll consume you. You can't deal with anybody if you hate. So you have to learn to deal with those frustrations, put them aside, and keep on going. But and so I say that to you to say, when you think about us, you think about the toughness that it takes to have to endure some of the things that we have had to endure and keep on going. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I want you to think about that. So let me say this to you. We've talked about it for the last couple weeks, but what I find very interesting is, and I hope the doctor's listening tonight, there's nationwide protests going on about the dissolution of the ACA. And I find that very interesting. It is now at its all-time most favorable among people. And you know what? And I've been saying this now for 3 years, and it's been falling on deaf ears. People have finally begun to figure out a lot of the stuff they was told was lies. They were just absolute lies. There was absolutely no truth to it. That you can't get a policy without a $10,000 or $12,000 or $20,000, all that kind of crazy stuff that you've been told. And let me just give you an example. I wrote a ACA policy for a woman today who's 37 years old, single, moderate income earner. She's got a premium of $128 a month with a $5,000 deductible, but co-pays for her doctor, her specialists, and her prescriptions, and a flat fee for emergency room. Now, you don't hear that, do you? I wrote another one earlier this week for a couple out of Orlando who are on the lower economic scale. No deductible, $5 primary doctor's fees for $71.65 a month. But they told you it's unaffordable. I've been telling you it's not true. What the truth is, and people are finally starting to see it, and Brian and I have been having a raucous debate back and forth on Facebook. What it is they don't want the government participating to assist people with their health care. That's the bottom line. Don't want it, and don't want their dollars going to help people. But I'm going to give you the argument that I gave somebody recently. And they told me my argument was unfair. But this argument is as straightforward as you can get. If I said this before to you last week, then forgive me. But the argument is just so clear to me about it. You pay taxes. And when you pay your taxes pay for education in your community. If you're single and you have no kids and you own a house, you still pay taxes. And those taxes that you pay is to help other kids in your community get an education. When your kids are grown and out of the house and you still own your house, you still pay taxes even though you don't have a kid in the school. And you know why? Because it's called community. That's called your fellow citizens. It's called America. And you don't hear anybody griping about the fact that they have to pay taxes to help somebody else's kid, but you're going to gripe about the fact that you have to pay taxes to give somebody health care that if they don't have, they'll die. Somebody help me with the logic of that. Maybe I'm just stupid. Maybe that's the problem. I'm just stupid because that logic makes no sense. You're willing to pay for somebody else's kid to get an education, but you're not willing to help your neighbor who needs health care and who could die without it. I don't know, but...
The H word comes to mind. Hypocrisy.
Yes. And you know, when I raised that argument to somebody, they said to me, that argument is unfair. I said, well, what's unfair about the argument?
It's the truth. The truth is never fair. No.
Right. I said, well, so what's unfair about that argument? They said, well, that argument's not fair. I said, don't you help put other people's kids through school with your taxes? Well, yes. Okay, so what's unfair about it? Why would you not? I even was communicating with my friend Bob today, and he made the point. Most of the countries in the free world provide health care assistance to their people. We're the richest country on the planet, and we don't want to do it. And I'm like, I lose my breath almost to the idea that we do not want to help people who may need help because we don't want our tax dollars going that way. And for you to say, and here's the other terrible lie that's being told, that it's a government, the ACA is a government program. It is not a government program. Please stop telling that lie because that's part of what has confused people. The Affordable Care Act is a piece of legislation that sets standards for how health care is to be delivered. You can choose to do it or not do it, but it sets some standards that every one of you listening to me has benefited from. So, and for some of you who say, well, before the ACA, I had cheaper premiums. Yeah, you probably did, because you know what? Before the ACA, they could deny you coverage for pre-existing conditions, and you had a lifetime gap of $1 million or $2 million. Now, you think, what is $1 million worth of health coverage if you get a catastrophic illness? It's nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You know, I watch my sister-in-law, God rest her soul. She went through, if there had been no ACA, my brother-in-law and her would have been in deep poverty because she blew through $1 million like it was nothing while she was fighting to live. So it is called, the word that I'm going to leave you with on this evening and to think about, is called humanity. Humanity. Let's say that word, humanity.
How many choose to be a part of it?
Yes. Can we deal with that? Because somehow I remember humanity was very important when I was younger, but somehow now it's not so important. And you know, part of it is my generation. My generation went out and made some money and bought a house and a couple of cars and maybe even a beach house, and now all of a sudden their humanity disappeared. Well, you know what? I could have probably been much better off financially if I took some of the attitudes that some people take, but I don't. And because I do believe in humanity, and I do believe in the American people, and I do love my American brothers and sisters, all shapes, colors, and sizes. And they're important to me. And if I can help them, I will help them. And it's going to always be that way for me. And I wish more of you felt that way, because the big word tonight is humanity. And I want you to think about what I said. And I hope that when you're laying in the bed and you hear my voice yelling humanity at you and wonder whether or not you have lacked the humanity that you need for your fellow Americans.
You're going to pay your taxes anyway. Why complain angrily because you think someone else is going to be helped by your effort?
Yeah.
How can anybody be mad about that? Isn't that something we should be proud of?
I would think.
That would to me be something to be proud of. And what is this with fear of doing things that make you proud? That's not helping anything or doing any good.
I agree. I think we've kind of lost our way, and I just hope we can find our way back. But the most interesting thing is the groundswell of protests for people who have now realized what is slipping through their fingers. I would like to thank you so much for listening to the African American scene and allowing me to come into your living rooms or your car. God bless and be safe. And I will see you right here next Wednesday for the African American scene.
The African American scene is presented by Howard Insurance, hosted by Rudy Howard. Heard Wednesday evenings in the 6 o'clock hour. Now tonight, Mike Thomas is standing by. We've got some high school sports coming up in about half an hour. Stick around. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie. The African American scene with Rudy Howard is just another one of the many reasons why we're the top of the Treasure Coast. Time right now is 7 o'clock.